Welcome to the ArmaniTalks YouTube channel. I'm your host, ArmaniTalks. In this channel, I'm covering communication skills for you to level up your way with words and become much more articulate. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about how to spot opportunities. You see one of those books back there, the middle one to be exact? It's called Level Up Mentality, a guide to re-engineer your mindset for confidence. And I wrote this book in April 2019. And by the time that I published it, I started to get a good amount of sales coming in from Kindle and paperback. I felt good. I was officially an author. And around 2019, I ended up joining this one, a business networking group where there were members from a lot of different professions. There were people in the lawn care industry, in the trucking industry, in the roofing industry, and much more. One day, there was a guest that came into one of our meetings, and this was the meeting where I was going to be giving a speech on my book, Level Up Mentality. So by the time that I give the speech, I'm complete with it. Afterwards, there's different people asking me questions. They're like, I could buy from Amazon, right? And on my head, someone's like, what was it like to write a book? I explained the question. And then there was this one guy, the guest. He came up to me and he's like, you're that Armani guy, right? I was like, yes. He's like, here's the thing, bud. I'm a trucker. I was like, okay, good for you. He's like, look, I want to read your book. I feel like it's going to give me some practical tips. But here's the thing. I don't really read books. It's like I have eye issues and I hold the Kindle. I can't even look at the paperback. But I listen to books. I was like, okay, why are you telling me this? And he's like, is there any chance that you could turn Level Up Mentality into an audiobook? And when he told me that, I don't know why. Mind you, this was like roughly 4 years ago. I judged him. I was like, this guy is too lazy to actually sit down and read a book the traditional way. And instead of doing what he's supposed to do, he wants me to put in more work to accommodate him in order to be lazy. Screw that. I'm not going to do something like that. So I politely told this gentleman, I'll think about it, which was code for no. Level Up Mentality will not be turned into an audiobook. More time went on by, and every now and then I would get an email from a person on my newsletter who'd be like, hey Armani, I just finished reading your book, really enjoyed it. Any chance you could also turn it into an audiobook? I also want to hear it because I'm normally going on these long trips, and I just feel like, the ideas will stick if I see it and I hear it. Once again, I judged this guy. I was like, I'll think about it. And I would get more of these messages throughout the next couple of months, throughout the next couple of years. Now, roughly by 2022, I put this whole audiobook thing to rest. Until one day I was watching a YouTube video and I was interrupted with an ad. It was from two twins named the Mickelson twins. And they were like, do you have a bunch of books in your library? I look at all the books. I'm like, yeah. It's like, well, if you do, then you need to watch this webinar. I don't know why. I'm normally not a webinar guy because they're always trying to sell you some things. But this time it got my curiosity and I was like, all right, fine, I'll check it out. I kid you not. That was one of the best webinars I've ever watched. And it was one of those webinars that changed my perspective. There were plenty of people that were dying to listen to their books. And this wasn't a foreign concept to me. I don't know why I was judging it so much because I run a podcast. Audio is a big thing nowadays. People really like to listen to things. And this webinar was showing me the step-by-step process of how to turn my books into audiobooks. Within 3 weeks, I turned Level Up Mentality into an audiobook. And surprisingly, within the first week, it ends up becoming the #1 new release in men's health. And since it was the #1 release of such a sought-after niche, I started to get a flurry of sales. I started to make a lot of money. And once I started to make a lot of money, I was like, whoa, that guy from 2019 was right. I should have made my book into an audiobook then. And you want to know something? The #1 revenue generator for the ArmaniTalks business right now, at this moment, are audiobooks. Just think about that. It was an opportunity that was staring at my face all along, but I was too proud to even look the opportunity in the eye. This is one of those situations where if you want to find opportunities, a lot of times it's not about going from X place to Y place. It's really about standing where you are and cleaning your eyes. Do you have opportunities right here and right now? That's the first question to ask. And this question is very uncomfortable to ask because if you're watching a video like this in the first place and you're like, well, how exactly do I find opportunities and such? You're thinking like, I definitely don't have any opportunities in my current spot. That's why I'm even asking a question like this. And this guy in this video is telling me to ask myself right now, what kind of opportunities do I already have? That's ridiculous. But this is an important question because it builds awareness. And when you build awareness, you start to look at what you already have from a completely different lens. Like if I ask that question of what opportunities do I already possess, and I don't even need to answer it on the spot, but I asked that question at least in 2020, I'm pretty sure I would have stumbled onto the whole audiobooks thing much quicker than all the way in 2022. So that's one of the first questions to really ask. Like, what opportunities do I already have? And the second question to ask is, what reoccurring patterns are multiple people just introducing to me? The trucker was not the first guy that told me about turning my book into audiobook. Multiple people told me to do it. But each time I was like, no one listens to their books. So I was proven wrong. So 2 subtle ways to spot opportunities is to look here and now, and is to look for reoccurring patterns among other people and what they're noticing towards you. See, we're often the last to the party to discover our own greatness. What comes very easy to you may be very difficult for someone else. If you're someone who's an amazing dancer and multiple people are like, hey, can you teach me? Hey, can you show me how this move works? Hey, you know you're a really good dancer. Chances are you have that opportunity right now. Start consulting people on dancing. Start creating a class on dancing. Something. Opportunities, it's a very big word. So it makes you think that you have to do something very out of the norm to discover it. But that's not always true. Sometimes it's about priming your mind to look at the tiny, the invisible, the subtle. And the more that you look for those small little things, the more that you see gargantuan opportunities staring right at your face. So if you enjoyed today's talk, go on and drop that like for me right on below and hit subscribe if you are not subscribed to the channel already. Thank you very much for joining the ArmaniTalks YouTube channel, and I'll catch you next time.